Folks, if we could have you clear the foosball tables, please, and if you would, head over here to the stage area.
You will survive being bested. Somebody fine will come along, make me forget about loving you on the Southern Cross.
And hi again, everybody, and welcome to the 20th Bart O'Hearn celebration. Let's have a big hand before we proceed for everyone who is putting on this event here this weekend. Ben Kempner and company, Brittany, Donald, David Kala, everyone who is involved with putting on this great event. You know, 20 years ago, Joe Kuntz, 21 years ago now, Joe Kuntz started this little Texas event for his great friend Bart O'Hearn. And it started as a local event, kind of evolved and became sort of a regional event. But players out on the American tour in particular got wind of what was going on down here and how special it was, that Joe Kuntz, the focus that he had on the Fallen Foosers, along with making sure it was a great competitive tournament. And more, as the years went by, this became a great national event, and now it's one of the great international events on the professional tour, and an event that really is a one-of-a-kind thing. Obviously, the great competition, and you look at who's here this weekend, I mean, it's amazing. It's a world-class field, but also what this tournament means and has grown to mean. You know, now every country in the world really will be represented by the vision of Joe Kuntz and the legacy that he has left. And you know, this is my 10th year working this event, both doing Inside Foos and being a part of this ceremony. And there's something missing, and it's different. You know, it was always a team thing. Joe and I would get together, and we would talk about, you know, how this ceremony was going to go and what needed to be done. And it was always a pleasure to work with Joe, of course, and I feel the vacuum, as so many of us do. He was a great foosball man, a great friend, and we all miss him, of course. But, you know, I think about this ceremony, and there is a certain element of sadness to it, of course, but it's also necessary, I think, for all of us to process, not only the friends, the families, the community, all of us need this, right? This year, it's actually 2 years. I have a list here, and there are 68 names on here. And we're going to go through them in alphabetical order. And what's great about this, yes, we're sad about the players and the people that we love who have passed, but it also, as I say, it's a chance to celebrate and remember and honor. You know, and I was talking with someone yesterday, 3 or 4 people yesterday, who mentioned stories. They said, you know, I played a draw your partner with this guy, and I'll never forget it. This guy, I took 3rd at the U.S. Open in 1979 or 80 or whatever. The memories, and it's what we're creating here this weekend, and it's what we always create at these events. It's about memories. And they are never more clear. There's never more clarity on our memories than when we're here in Austin. So tonight we will read the 68 names in alphabetical order. There will be people coming up and speaking to remember and honor the fallen Foosers from the years 2020 and 2021. All right, let's get it started. First off, starting in alphabetical order, Roger Amott from Colorado. And I'd like to welcome up to the stage Tommy Chapman.
Roger was a great and brilliant player in Colorado. Him and his brother, Lewis, come to all the tournaments. We met them in the very early 90s, become very good friends with them. Roger, you know, you've seen the first picture where he lost to my dog, but he was a man of God. He knew where he was going. He knew when his time had come, he was going home to the Lord. He was an even player. He could get out there and he could be hacked out and still walk away, shake a hand, and have a good attitude about it. That was something that was really awesome about him that you don't see a lot. But he was truly a good person, a good father. His sons, him, his brother, his mother. Just honored to have got to know him.
Thank you, Tommy. Robert Mares.
Didn't want to let the opportunity go by without just saying, Roger, want to make sure you guys know he won expert singles at Worlds. He's a very accomplished player. I've taken my paddlings from him, and we're going to miss you, buddy.
Thank you, Robert. Next up, Larry Aiden. I'd like to welcome Robert Yannick up to the stage, please.
Well, I don't know how many of y'all knew Larry. Larry was, when I first started playing, Larry was the best. You know, he'd come out to the game room in spring, Texas, and beat the heck out of us. And I did a lot of traveling with him. We went to Colorado 2 or 3 times. Some of my best finishes was with Larry. You know, he left a real nice family, had grandkids. He was really a good foosball player. I don't know if he ever made Bordeaux, but I know we made Colorado State. We made World a couple of times. We played the Nationals in Colorado. Did a lot of traveling. Good man, and he will be missed.
Thank you, Robert. From Ohio, Matt Albert.
Speaking on behalf Speaking on behalf of Lindsay Albert, you guys all know and love her. She's from Florida, originally Ohio. Her dad was an amazing player. He's truly going to be missed by many, but no one more than Lindsay. And she's sorry she couldn't be here, but she thanks you for this honor of her father. Thank you.
Next up, a player I think many of you knew and competed against, Tim Fuji Alberts. We have a tribute written by Nancy Pappas. It is with renewed sadness and grief that I give a brief tribute for our beloved friend and fallen foosball multiple table champion and legend, Tim Alberts, aka Fuji. I speak on behalf of many of our New England, New York, and United States Tornado and Bonzini foosball players who are still deeply affected by the tragic loss of one of the most passionate and skilled foosball players of all time. It has been an honor and a privilege for us to have had him as a friend and a foosball family member, and we will always love and cherish our fond and eternal memories of him. Fuji's dedication, hard work, diligence, and passion for foosball were always evident. His 2 greatest loves in life were, first, his dear wife, and second, foosball. Fuji was a kind and loving person, and he made that known publicly on Facebook many times within the last few years, how he loved and cared deeply about his foosball family and wanted to make sure that we knew that. He took ill while his wife was already in a nursing home with stage 4 cancer. The weight of his burdens became heavy, but he carried it well. Fuji shone a bright light on us. His sense of humor and smile were enough to light the whole room when he entered. What Fuji called himself in fun was the man, the myth, the legend. Fuji continually posted in big letters to his friends, "Much love from Fuji and Dee Dee." One of the last things he said was, "Elvis has left the room." It's still too hard to fathom that he's gone, but he is with us in spirit. He may have left the room, but will always be a shining light in our hearts. Next, from Louisiana, Rusty Allen. From Mississippi, Tiffany Bell. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Bell. Speak correctly.
This is my son, Trevor Bell. That's Tiffany's son back there in the back. He's shy. He's real shy. That's Dallas. Anyway, I just want to say thanks to everybody. I mean, everybody knows she was my best friend. She was the mother to both my boys, you know, and she was an amazing person. And all you people that were reached out and everybody that did everything, that meant a lot. Just want to say thanks.
I know all of y'all pretty much know my dad. Ever since Tiffany came in our life, she made him a better person. She was the best mom for me that I could have ever asked for, and I appreciate all you guys coming out to celebrate all of their lives lost. Nobody deserves that or anything. I just wanted to say thank you guys, and I hope everybody has a good time, and we miss y'all.
Thank you, guys. Hard to imagine Bill being a better person than he already is, right? Out of Georgia, Randy Bentley. From Louisiana, Cabot Bernard. Next on the list is a player out of California that I knew very well. Was a very, very good friend of mine going back to the 1980s. A man named Terry Blanco, and I know if you knew him, you remembered him. This was a guy who always had a smile on his face, super talented player on the table, and I first met him in Southern California tournaments in the 1980s. He was also the first promoter to ever bring tornado tables to Southern California around 1988. And again, I can only remember, and this was a surprise. It came out of nowhere and kind of shocked all of us who knew him so well. But I always remember his smile. Terry's smile could light up a room. And then you watch him play on the table, and he had a push kick and he had a pull shot, both of which were just deadly. Great five, super dude, great player, and we really miss him. This, and there's a message here from Michael Campobasso, who I know was someone who was involved with the promotion of foosball with Terry. Mike says, Terry was one of the best people I have ever met. He was the pillar of our foosball community in the Hemet area, which is in Southern California. He ran all the local tournaments, always friendly and kind, never had a harsh word about anyone. He mentioned us on our game. He mentored us on our game. We would all hop in cars, and he would lead the way to all of the out-of-town tournaments. He was always smiling and laughing. Terry was a champion at the table. He had one of the best five-bar and push kicks around. Terry was loved and will be greatly missed. Thank you, Michael. From the state of Texas, Rick Broadhurst. Trad, would you like to speak about Rick?
Hi, thank you. First off, I want to say, you know, a long time ago, the Foos family means a lot to me, and I'm starting to realize how much more it means to me now, later on in life, and that the titles are less important than the family, and these guys are a true example. I lost 3 this year from Oklahoma, and Rick is one of them. We have Darren Irwin, and we have Lee Masters, who is a professional. So I thought what's cool is that they're all different layers of the Foose family, and I thought it would be cool to kind of explain the difference of them. So Tommy knows that Lee is a true professional. Like in the 90s, beautiful dead bar pool, great 5-row, able to come back when he was down. So I thought it was so important to recognize a professional foosball player who probably should be in Oklahoma's Hall of Fame. So it's really cool to see. But Rick is like, he was one of our road dogs. He went with us to every tournament. I think he played in every draw. And as we all know, who's part of the family, he was a lifetime rookie. I mean, he played the exact same from the day I met him until the day he retired, you know, but it's what he did. And he loved to, you know, catch you slipping with the left hand out of the back. He was sneaky, but he was always there. He was part of the family. I think really his best finish was with me at Texas State. We got second in 3,500 limited. I got removed from the tournament cliques on Sunday at 10 p.m. for being underage. I was 19. Mind you, I might have been drinking that whole weekend, but they let me. You know, I had nothing to do with it. So, Rick. Yes, you did. So, Rick talked about that for decades. He was so, he was mad. We forfeited playing the finals that day, and he talked about it forever. And I think he would have talked about it more than actually winning the title. It was one of those things. So every time I seen him, it was one of those. So Rick will definitely be missed also. And the last one is a different element that I think as professionals we forget about. Darren Irwin was someone I met at a small town in Pryor, Oklahoma with Tommy. We went to the tournament, and he had never met professionals before. So he got me down he got us down 1-0, 3-1, and we got intense, you know, and we ended up coming back and winning it. And he came over to say, wow, man, you guys take this game seriously. Like, I've never seen this before. And we're like, yeah, you know, and there's probably 100 people in this small town, but throughout time, what he taught me was Darren played at every bar. He had 2 tables at his house. He probably played day for day, hour for hour, minute for minute, more than Lee, Rick, or myself. It just wasn't in tournaments. So with that being said, the more that I played with him, the more that I learned that to have fun again in the game and not care about the drop pass at 4-4 or the loss when you had a big lead. He taught me how to have fun with the game again, and I'll forever be indebted for him for that. So what I would say to all of you, when you're in these tournaments or you're at a bar or you're in a basement, once you get done hacking them and dinking them, hug them, because they're family too, you know? So thank you.
Thank you, Tread. Based on how he looks, I think that 19-year-old ejection was like 3 or 4 years ago, Tread. That's your fault, Brittany. All right. Also from the state of Texas, Monty Brown. From Florida, William Buff Buffalo. From the state of Texas, Ronnie Bufford. So many familiar faces. We don't always know the names, but we recognize the faces, don't we? From the state of Colorado, Brett and Blaine Chapman. I'd like to welcome to the stage Tommy and Sherry Chapman.
Our son Brett was a very kind man. He didn't know a stranger. His friends said he'd give anything to help anyone. There were times he'd empty his wallet to help a stranger, trusting that God would in return take care of his needs. He was an amazing tattoo artist, skateboarder, played guitar, a refrigeration journeyman, taking after his dad, Tommy. Most of all, Brett loved his family, his 4 sisters, Bridget, Raylan, Ashley, and Olivia, brother-in-laws, nieces, and nephews who adored him, and especially his kids. Life without Brett in it is really hard. He lived for his kids, Purity and Blaine. Every year, Brett helped us do whatever was needed for our local foosball tournaments, warm-ups, and Colorado State. But in 2019, Purity and Blaine asked him if he'd take him to the cabin instead of going to the tournament. And of course, that's what he did. They were number 1 in his life. He asked me if he could start a beginner foosball tournament at one of our venues. Both locations closed. So instead, he took a table home to his house, invited all of his friends and neighbors that he didn't know, and he started beginner tournaments at his house, teaching them how to play. Every week, sometimes every night, teaching them how to love foosball. Purity and Blaine loved playing and trying their best to beat their daddy and his friends. They loved playing as much as Brett did. Purity recently asked me if she could play at Colorado State under the name of Brett to honor his daddy, so that's what she's going to do. Blaine was 7 years old. He was a true sweetheart. He'd run into the house, find Papa, just to get a Papa hug and a Papa spanking. He'd rather play with his sisters, his cousins, than be on the phone, TV, or video games. He was funny, loving, and made all of us feel special. Just like his daddy, he served people and cared deeply. 7 years old. His life had just begun. It doesn't make any sense. Brett recently got his license to open Ghostwriter Tattoo Studio, his dream. On March 5th, he asked Tommy if we would watch his kids. He was picking up shelves for his tattoo studio. When he came to our house at 11:30 to drop something off for me, Blaine woke up and asked if he could go home with Daddy. They were spending the night with us that night. And of course, Brett said yes. A man named Travis decided to drink and drive that night. Left our 9-year-old granddaughter without a daddy and a little brother. Purity wanted me to just, in honor of her daddy and her brother, if you're gonna drink, please make a plan. Hand over your keys to somebody, stay on a friend's couch. Just don't drive. She has to grow up without her daddy and her little brother. We just want to say thank you to so many of you who have reached out to our family, supported us, prayed for us, supported my granddaughter. Our comfort, Brett and Blaine knew the Lord. They're in heaven and we're going to see them again. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Next, from Denmark, Lars Christiansen. I knew Lars very well. I know Robert Maris is going to come up and speak as well, but I had a chance to spend a lot of time with Lars when I first went to the 2006 World Cup in Germany. He was one of the first international players I met, big jolly guy out of Denmark, who kind of was a fan, already had watched a lot of videos, and kind of hung around the Inside Foos booth that week. What a great guy he was. And so, he was really the king of Denmark foosball. He was the leader of what is a great foosball nation. So we will miss Lars very much. Rob, would you like to come up?
I just wanted to say that I knew Lars from the overseas action. He was a Bonzini player. He was a really cool guy. He didn't like Tornado. We used to always joke about it, and we don't like Bonzini. But he was a killer guy, and he'll be missed. A great player, pro master for sure.
From North Carolina, Brian Cook. From Costa Rica, Carolina Cordero. From the state of New Hampshire, Dave Cunningham. From Peru, Teddy Dale. Many of you know Kenneth Dale, a pretty regular guy on the American tour. It was his father. From Oklahoma, Trad already spoke about him, Darren Irwin. From Ohio, Tom Fatica. Nicknamed Foos. I think we all had one of those in our local player base, didn't we? From Tennessee, Amy Fronterhouse. From Ireland, Damien Glavin, a player that I knew very well. I know Tony Sprademan competed with him in a number of tournaments internationally. This guy, if you met Damien, you never forgot him. Big guy, jolly guy, went at it hard, loved life. Very good foosball player as well. And a guy that, even now, I feel his presence. He was just a huge personality. So we will miss Damien. Clint Gandy. Says Louisiana, as far as I know. I knew Clint from Illinois. I have a tribute from his best friend, Frank Kronkowski. Many of you know of Kronko. Clint was a Chicago player at heart. He began the Foos tour in 1982 on Brown Tops, then Dynamo. He played locally at Chicago Game Company, Foos Nucleus, and all-nighters at Don Chalafo's house. Clint took his solid goalie game on tour and was known for his bank shots and pull shot defense. His favorite goalies were Dieter Thiele, Mark Vanitti, Mike Green, and Ricky Benitez for their ability to score 3 banks a game. Clint was a loyal partner, mainly playing with Frank Kronkowski and other Chicago players. The highlight of his career include world titles in novice singles and novice doubles, both in 1986. Clint's sarcastic remarks and trash talking always elevated your game when playing with him or against him. He really admired and enjoyed the true greats of trash talking like Moya and Horton, Atkinson, and Casey Pruitt. Clint's illness and inability to stand for hours kept him from competing and caused an early retirement from the Chicago Police Department. Sometimes he still went to tournaments just to talk to people he admired and liked. Thank you, Frank. From the state of Washington, Jack Graham. To speak on Jack's behalf, I'd like to welcome Adam Gilson.
A little under 3 years ago, I was standing in front of a crowd of Foosers, much like you, inducting my friend and mentor, John Sneaky Jack Graham, into the Pacific Northwest Hall of Legends. And now I stand before all of you trying to figure out how to say goodbye to him. It's hard to encapsulate in such a short time Jack's ferocious loyalty to his friends, his family, to this earth, and the sport that he loved. And I'll be honest, I haven't really accepted that he's gone. I don't know how. Of all the things he taught me, I don't know how. But the other day, my 4-year-old son was working a puzzle and laughing that wondrous way only 4-year-olds can do. And I asked him later, why was he working it upside down? And he said, because I tell him to look at things upside down sometimes. And I do, for his sake and for mine as a reminder. And it was Jack who challenged me to look beyond the status quo, to be fearless in supporting your friends and family, and to take that which you know, that which you love, and give it to others. And now I see that legacy in my son, and I know that we are all reflections of those that we love. Jack, not a day goes by that I don't think about you, and I love you, buddy, and I miss you, and until we meet again.
Thank you, Adam. From Colorado, Dan Gruenwald. From Alabama, Ron Harden Sr. Robert Martins, did you have something you'd like to add? Here comes Rob.
Thanks, Robbie.
No, I want to thank you guys for sticking around and showing respect to these people, and my heart goes out to everybody who's lost somebody. Ron, a lot of you guys don't know, he wasn't some pro master guy in all the pit table finals and stuff, but this was a cool cat, and I wasn't going to let the moment go without letting you guys know. He was a dedicated Fooser, he loved the game, and he'll be missed.
Thanks, Robbie. Dave Hopfinger. Sissy gave me a text to read from Brendan Flaherty. I'm not sure I should. But the gist of it was that that Flaherty nicknamed him Finger, as Flaherty would do. He nicknamed a lot of people Finger, I'm guessing. But I knew Dave as well, and a good guy, really good player, very good player, who competed on the senior level for a while. So he will be missed. Next, Carlos Uregas from Texas. I'd like to welcome Oscar Ramirez to the stage.
This thing too high. So I just wanted to say that I've known Carlos for over 40 years. We met back in high school, and I also wanted to speak about Bob Rivera. We met all of them about the same time, but Carlos was too young to get into the bar. I was a whole year older than him, so he was too young to get into the bar. And around that time, I was meeting Bob Rivera at the same time over the foosball table. And what Carlos and Bob mean to me and what we share together is a passion for the game and a love for it. We're all not the greatest players around, but we all love the game and we play hard, and we just, they're family. They were my family, they were my friends, and I miss them and I love them very much. They're my brothers, and we're here to celebrate their lives. Thank you very much.
Carlos was too young to get into the bar, except perhaps the Texas State Championships in the 1990s. From the state of Mississippi, John Jones. From the state of Texas, Darren King. I'd like to welcome Scott King to the stage, please.
Well, most of you who've been playing for a while remember when I started bringing this little kid around who was full of confidence, had a lot of talent, liked to talk smack, and had a fire burning in him as hot as anybody else's in here. He had the passion for the game, he had the obsession for the game, and he had two goals in life. Those two goals, one was to beat me at a big tournament, and the other was to be the best player in the world. He was well on his way to doing that too. He had won a couple of years back-to-back, 17 and under, doubles at the World Championships. He'd won 3 or 4 semi-pro doubles events, a couple at Texas State, one at the Worlds, and he beat me in a tournament at the Worlds. But before he had the opportunity to become the best player in the world, the best thing that ever happened to him walked through the door at a Saturday night tournament. A friend of his named Kelsey brought this little girl, pretty girl too, to meet Darren. All of Darren's goals changed that night. She never asked him to stop. She came to tournaments with him. She never complained. But his new goals were his family, him and Jessica, his job, and his church. Right now, I'd like to bring Jessica up here to give her this for Darren. If you would, Jessica, come up. Jessica turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to him. I'm very proud of her. She's part of my life. She's hurting a lot with this, we all are. But if Darren was here now, he'd want me to tell y'all thank y'all for all the good times. He made a lot of good friends, a lot of long-time relationships, and he'd like me to tell Jessica that he loved her. We thank y'all.
Many of you may remember Scott King as one of my colormen in broadcast on Inside Foods in the early 2000s. And during that time, Darren was kind of an Inside Foods intern who, whatever Scott told him to do, he was bringing us drinks, he was bringing us food, he was hanging out, doing what we needed him to do. And what a great guy he was. And we all feel your loss, Scott. Thank you. Next up, California player Ken Lowe. I'd like to welcome Mark Torres to the stage.
I think I'm going to be sick. Let's start there.
You got it.
So, I'm going to start off with a philosophical question that Ken and I used to discuss. It was really Ken and Bruce Van Buskirk and I, and then I'll arrive at the answer real quickly. But the question we used to talk about is, how do you play foosball in the moment? How do you stay in the moment? And we started to go down this, and we weren't stoned. We didn't get high. We go down this meandering, abstract path about, do you play it like it's the first ball you ever played or the last ball you ever played? And that became a big topic of discussion. But to speak briefly on Ken, we're children of the street. We're street kids. We're from East Side San Jose. In East Side San Jose, so San Jose is like this metropolitan, progressive city, but East Side San Jose is the other side of the tracks. And so it's a really toxic, antagonistic environment. You either have a family member or a friend, or you're 1 degree away from a person who's on drugs or going into jail or coming out of jail or got shot or got stabbed. And he's my childhood friend. Childhood, I'm referring to like 15, 16, 17. And foosball is a thing that keeps us off the street. We play foosball like 2 weeklies, like Wednesday and a Friday. And so I don't know what we'd be doing if we weren't playing foosball. I kind of have an idea. But the problem with East San Jose is that you don't make eye contact with people, because eye contact is an invitation to fight someone. And you don't smile. It's a passing glances at all times. And so it's not inviting. It's not a culture that's ingratiating of making friends. And this is relevant. It's relevant because it ended up being a culture we brought into foosball. So now we're playing foosball, and we like driving around and going to San Bernardino for the U.S. Open, and whether it was true or not, in our minds, and there's a group of us, there's me, Fernando, Jay Bartholow, Ken Lowe, whether or not it was true, in our minds, there was an establishment, and the establishment was the Masters. And so we didn't want to be friends with these guys. It was always about, screw those guys. We want to smash those guys. Those guys are horrible. They got their own language. They got their own little thing. And then it was worse when you felt like some of your friends became a part of that group. And I see Robert Mars up there. And Robert Mars, man, we're like amateurs. And then in the blink of an eye, Robert's hanging out with Tom Spear. And Tom Spear and those guys are assholes. And Terry Moore, we were just rookies together. Those guys are all assholes. And so we really victimized ourselves, right? Because you go to a foosball tournament, you don't make eye contact with the Masters, those bastards. And we don't want to, we're not going to say hi to them. And that ended up hurting us. So what would Ken want? How would Ken want to be remembered? Well, Ken, Fernando is Mexican Portuguese, right? Sergi Aragonis is Filipino. Voos Bruskirk is white. Jay's Vietnamese. And the fallacy is that we're and I'm meandering, but I'll be quick. The fallacy is that we're like a melting pot of, no, we are the most racist, discriminatory. I was talking about Ken's driving, and Fernando should be landscaping, and Ken, it was, his parents were cooking the Chinese food in the back at any restaurant. Go tell them to make this right. Hey, so anyway, what's the point? We self-victimized. We went into foosball tournaments, and we hurt our ability to engage we projected our little social construct into foosball. So how would Ken want to be remembered? Things he'd want to be remembered for. He was fearless because he wouldn't be bullied, because he was the Chinese guy from East San Jose. He'd want to be remembered for not being intimidated and going after it and attacking in the moment. He'd want to be remembered for being self-aware at all times and being proud and engaging and making eye contact, and he'd want to be known for fighting back. He would never be bullied. He'd want to be remembered that way. He'd want to, and I've been drinking, by the way, so I'm going to wrap this up real quick. He'd want to be remembered for his love and passion for the game. But if I could turn back the clock, the one thing that I would hope that we would do, and we all do, is we didn't have to be friends with everybody. But it would have served us if we said hi and smiled. We didn't learn that. And we could all still do that. We can all say hi and smile. And the last thing I'll arrive at is when we had these conversations about how do you approach the game? And we had a lot of these. It should be both, right? Where we arrived at is when you play foosball, play every ball as though it's your first ball, with the joy and curiosity and wonderment of the first time you touch the ball, and as though it's your last ball, with a sense of urgency that defines you, that you're going to leave it all on the table, and you're never going to let it go. And if you lose knowing that you have closure, that you gave it your all. And so that's how I want to memorialize Ken, how he'd want to be remembered, and I hope we all just continue to do that. Play a ball like it's your first ball and your last ball, make eye contact, smile, and say hello, because it won't hurt. We didn't learn that till much later. So that's what I have about Ken.
Next up from Louisiana, Brennan Lowe. And to speak about Brennan, I'd like to welcome Bo Guidry.
His name is Brennan Luke. No problem. Super solid guy, amazing father. Really loved his kids. And had a passion for foosball. He had a really good pull shot, but he couldn't play forward because he had no 5-man, you know. But I really miss him. He was my best friend, and just appreciate every moment that you have with people that you love, because you never know that might be the last moment. Thank you guys for putting on this event. It's fantastic. Yeah. God bless y'all.
Brennan Luke. Next from Rhode Island, Fino Loyola. From the state of Texas, Daniel Luna. Speak about Daniel, Sissy Whipple.
You're so tall. Danny Luna was a local player from Corpus Christi that did play on tour. He'd never flown before, and I remember the first time he flew to a World Championships in Dallas. He was white-knuckling it with his wife, Norma. He was a fierce player. He was loyal and a good friend. Any of these boys from Corpus Christi that are here today will tell you that it's not the same without Danny and the others that we've lost. But we just, you know, Danny, we want you to know we're going to make sure Norma and the kids get this, and we miss you. And God bless you.
Thank you, Sissy. We're about halfway through. Everybody take a breath. From Louisiana, hopefully we get the pronunciation correct, I'm going with Chris Lutz. Could be Lutz. Lutz it is. Next up is quite simply one of the greatest players of all time. A man out of the state of Idaho, one of the true stars of the 1970s tournament soccer tour, Rick Martin. Rick, hugely successful player, rocket launcher, push kick. A guy that took, 25 years off of the game and then came back to it, refound his love, as so many players are these days. I mean, how often do we go to tournaments these days and we see someone, for me it's every tournament, seen someone I haven't seen in 20 years who is, the kids are grown, they've retired, they remember how much, and they love foosball and how much it meant to them. And Rick came back and still had a lot of game, took a lot of time off, different table, shot a snake shot instead of a push kick, won expert singles in Las Vegas one year after not playing for 25 years. Great guy. just a super individual, a great player, legendary player, a Hall of Famer. And so I want to personally honor and remember the great Rick Martin. From Italy, Vittorio Mercandante. From the state of Texas, Nelda Miles. From Michigan, Ricky Moore. From Costa Rica, Jacondi Munoz. I'd like to welcome Brandon Munoz to the stage.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry if my English is bad. Okay, first, I want to thank CC, our Madrina Costa Rica Football, for bringing me to this very important tournament, and also the staff for including my dad in this beautiful event. This means a lot to me and my family, too. This tournament was also important to my father since it was the last tournament that my father played here in the United States in 2014. I remember that he was very excited to see our friends Alex Soto in the trophy and being honored, and now he's there with him. And I can only tell you that we enjoy every moment as a football family as if it were the last one. Thank you.
From the state of Idaho, Chris Murray. From Missouri, Sherry Nash. Could be Cherry Nash.
First, I'd like to thank, obviously, Joe Kuntz for getting this going, Ben Kempner and his family for keeping it going, all of you guys for being out here. I'm a big crybaby. I probably won't make it through this anyway, but for us, a lot of you guys know my sister. This was our vacations every year. We'd come out, we'd get family reunions with you guys, at least two tour stops a year. You know, she was a good foosball player. I'm just a hack. But, you know, thanks to all you guys for being family members all these years. And thank you guys.
Next on the list is a man that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit here. In fact, when I spoke with Ben about, you know, there's a small committee each year who selects the 3 pit tables and who's going to be on them, I completely overlooked this guy. This is the man, Lawrence Patterson, who in 1962 brought the first foosball tables to America. He was the first person to develop a coin-operated table. the first person to run tournaments, the first person to sell foosball. He actually coined the name, patented the name foosball with the Foosball spelling. I mean, without this guy, you know, are we all here? This is a man who changed the course of foosball history. I had a chance to meet Larry in Kentucky a few years ago, and very unassuming, very deflecting of any compliments or adulation about. And for me, someone who is a student of the history of the game, I knew who he was. I knew what he did, and I was kind of in awe of meeting this man. But again, very unassuming. But yet, when you think about it, you know, this guy had a vision. You know, he was apparently overseas in Germany, in the military, and saw foosball, saw table soccer being played in Europe, and said, you know, I think this is something I could bring back to America. And he did. And he changed, the course of history. And so I just wanted to make sure I did not overlook the accomplishments of this incredibly important person in the history of foosball, and that's Lawrence Patterson. From Missouri, Kathy Pittman. Could be Mississippi based on that MS up there. From Texas, Ryan Ratajic. Excuse me on the mispronunciations if that's the case. This next one from the state of Colorado, which of course is where I live. This is a gentleman I knew very well. Great foosball player, great dude. World hacky sack champion. If you know footbag, if you know hacky sack, this is a legendary Hall of Fame footbag player, competitor. Rick Rippin Reese, and I think the nickname came from his accomplishments as a hacky sack player. And if you ever saw him, he would do this at tournaments. I know Rob's going to come up and speak about him as well. But if you ever saw him at tournaments, it was amazing to watch. This guy was an artist with a footbag. And this was a big surprise to all of us when it happened. And I'd like to bring Robert Mares up for his own personal memories of Rick.
Thank you, guys. And thanks to everybody. I'm not going to name names, but for letting us do this and not pressuring us and pushing us. This means a lot to a lot of us. So to Bardo and Joe for starting it. But Rippin' Rick Reese was a dear friend of mine. I just took a few notes about him. I don't have a speech or anything cool, but I want to make sure everybody knows Rippin' Rick is in the Footbag Hall of Fame as a 7-time freestyle world champ. He has a trick named after him. Pretty badass. He did get top 10 at Worlds, playing with Spear, which I thought was pretty sweet. He and I got first place at the Colorado State Championships 2002 Open Doubles. The dude was lightning fast. Like Jim said, if you ever saw him footbag, and it's easy to find online, he could do 2 bags at a time. It's just phenomenal. But if you ever remember people shredding in Grapevine back in the day, like Old Dad or Smith, you guys might remember, that was Rippin' Rick and those guys. So yeah, he will be missed. Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie. From the state of Texas, Bob Rivera, and Oscar already spoke about him. From Colorado, Jimmy Rooks. I'd like to invite Dan Barber to the stage, please.
I did not know Jimmy Rooks, but our local promoter, Ray Cordova, knew him pretty well, and this is what he had to say. Jimmy Rooks was originally from Northfield, Minnesota. And from what I can tell from his Facebook page, he also had a lot of friends in his hometown that were very cherished. He deeply loved back home in Minnesota and in Colorado. My clearest memory of Jimmy was that he always strived to be the best foosball player that he could be, and he would always come up to me at the tournaments and show me what he was working on and how to improve his game. I really feel like foosball held Jimmy together somehow. Maybe it was the friendship with the players in Colorado, or maybe it was just the game itself and how much effort he put into becoming better. Whatever it was about the sport, I knew it was something that Jimmy held on to and looked forward to every Wednesday night. Jimmy, you will always be a part of Colorado foosball, as well as the entire foosball family worldwide. Rest in peace, brother. May God bring you into his holy kingdom.
Thank you, Dan and Ray. From Louisiana, Randy Root. From the state of Missouri, Lee Schickendans. From Louisiana, Marty Schwartz. From Houston, Texas, Alan Self. Robert Yannick.
Robert's going to say something.
Alan was a Houston player and a lot of friends in Houston. He shot a push kick, had a real good push kick. Played a lot of tournaments in the early 80s with him. He'll be missed. He was a tugboat driver, and he loved bass fishing. And a lot of the tournaments on Lake Conroe, back when we had Keith Pierce, we'd go out there and
Freaking Keith.
Yep, go in there and fish for those bass, and we never won, but we tried. And spent a lot of money, you know, and had some fun. And he loved gambling, you know, and going to the Louisiana. And all around, just a really good person. A lot of friends in Houston. A lot of friends in foosball. Everybody, yeah. Glenn Beecham, Scott, all of y'all.
I
don't think you had any enemies. And just like I said, he'll be missed. He's one of these guys that we're just going to miss forever. So that's part of the gang. Bill?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Robert. Was he Houston or Pasadena?
He's really Pasadena, I guess.
Baytown. Oh, my
Baytown.
God.
Oh,
my
wrong
God.
Alan.
Alan, sorry, I'm going. You know, I've known Alan since I was a teenager, basically, and played with Robert and played with all those guys. I'm calling you out, John Smith. You're back there somewhere. Hey, John. I got to tell you an Alan Self story.
He doesn't need it.
I'll tell you an Alan Self story. Me and Alan were playing Worlds, like the late 90s sometime, and we're 3-up in winners, and we're playing Federico next. First year Federico ever played. And we're like, well, we got some European player. What's he like? Probably got a crappy pass. No. He's got a great pass. Played the first game. He passes by me, gets the ball, toe shot, cuts it back. Second, I serve the ball, steals it from me, passes it through, cuts it back. Third time, does it again. 3 times in a row, he cuts back on Alan. Alan calls timeout. He's like, Bill, I think he's cutting back on purpose. I'm like, no shit. Are you kidding me, Alan? He does that. He's that good. You think so? You think so? Anyway, that's my Alan Self story. I love the guy. Such a great guy. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, guys. From Illinois, Richard Shepard. Rich was the promoter there in the Chicago area and was doing a fantastic job up there. And I know if Don Chalafu was here, he'd have a lot to say about him. I don't think we have anyone here from Illinois that knew Rich, but a guy that was really missed by the Chicago player base and in general. From North Carolina, Kevin Simmons. From Iowa, Perry Sinopoli. From North Carolina, Steve Snyder. I knew Steve pretty well, and I think a lot of us who played down in Florida, North Carolina, got to know him. He was a player that played back in the 70s, 80s, and then came back after 20, 25 years. And about a year ago, I get a call from Steve Snyder telling me that he'd love to help out Inside Foods and contribute to Inside Foods. And he was incredibly generous with what he did. And we had a long conversation about it. He said, I just love foosball, Jim. I believe in what you're doing. I want to support you. And he did so in an amazing way. And I didn't know, I didn't speak with him since then. And 3 weeks ago, I look at this list, and I see the name Steve Snyder on there. And it's a common name, right? And then I looked a little farther, and it was the same Steve Snyder. And all I could think of was how generous he was, and did he know that maybe his time was limited, because he was extraordinarily generous, and a guy that over the years I had a chance to kind of get to know over the last 5 or 7 years when he came back. But this one hit me pretty good when I saw this name on the list because of how generous and the conversations that we had and how giving he was. So, Steve Snyder. From Georgia, Tommy Teal.
No one's here for Tommy?
From Oklahoma, Lee Thompson. Tommy Atkinson, please.
Having a hard time here. I'm going to try to get through this, guys. Lee was a very special person to a lot of us in Oklahoma. Lee is the person that taught me how to play foosball. Lee was one of the best local players we had, and he had a killer 5-bar and, a mean pull shot. But Lee was the type of guy that he didn't mind playing goalie and open doubles for a 12-year-old kid that wanted to play forward. That's just who Lee was. We're going to miss him. We love you, Lee. I'll see you again, buddy. Thank you, Jim.
From Texas, Tony Turner. Sissy tells me that Tony Turner is a Texas legend. From Peru, Lozano Vivar. From Missouri, Bill Westfall. Here comes Robbie.
I know one's scheduled. All right, Jim spoke earlier about you see a face and you didn't know the name. This guy was a really cool cat, man. He was a musician. As far as I know, he is the first one to do the upright table shots that I like to do. This cat was the one doing that. And if I'm not mistaken, he would even get up on a chair and do a shot on the upside of the table. So he would do like this pull shot thing. But man, talk about a unique individual. I know he loved the game. He had Foos tattoos. And like I went to his room to like play video games or something one time. He had all the beds rearranged, had like a sheet hanging, was playing games. I mean, it was like a really cool cat. So the name and the face thing really rang a bell with this cat for me. So Bill, rest in peace, my friend.
Thanks, Robbie. From Louisiana, Todd Whitney. From Kentucky, Paul Winchell. From Texas, Johnny Rod Rodriguez. I'd like to welcome Moose, Mike Morrison, up to the stage.
It's going to be hard for me to do. But Johnny, I've known him for 40 years or better, and we started playing foosball in a little place in Wembley. And then he went on, we ruled San Marcos. We used to go to bars there in this quarter stacked up on the table, people wanting to play us and everything. And he was a talented football player. He's San Antonio. He won all tournaments there 2 or 3 days time a week. He'd go to Austin, San Antonio, and win the tournaments. He lived on that for a while. But he was real talented. He real good ball control, 5-man from hell, and he had a good pull shot. You know, I miss him dearly. I'm sorry. I think I've been dealing with this for the last month, and it's hurt me. But Johnny, I miss him dearly, and he was a good friend of mine. And I've known him for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Moose. Back in 1993, when I first came out on tour with Inside Foos, obviously Steve Murray, old dad, was kind of instrumental in making that happen. And I met, all the individuals who work. I got a tour of the Tornado factory, the little factory there in Fort Worth at the time, where everything was handmade, and Steve's office was in there. He was promoting from the office, of course, Dave Currington, and the owner of Tornado at that time, Ed McLeod, who I had the privilege of meeting for the first time. Ed was always just really kind, always such complimentary things to say to me. And so we miss Ed. And I'd like to invite his daughter, Angelique, up to the stage, please.
Mindy's step ladder. Thank you. Sorry, I'm a little emotional, but this has been the first opportunity I've had to remember my father since he passed with COVID. We didn't have a funeral, so it means a lot to me that y'all are doing this for him and allowing me to be a part of it. I watched him work tirelessly, trying to make improvements to the table, just sitting at the draft table, doing things I couldn't understand. It involved math and all that stuff. But my favorite memory of the creative process of one of the new parts was when he went from that hard pingy pink ball to the smoother red ball, and he narrowed it down to 3 prototypes, all different materials. And he did the Rottweiler test. And while I was there one weekend, he gave his Rottweiler partner each ball, let him chew it for about 10 minutes, and the ball that came out with the least amount of damage was the material that he used, and that is what you played on. It was interesting, it was incredible to watch, but not a lot of people know the behind the scenes part of my dad. He'd be very proud to see all of you keeping it going strong. I'm proud of it. Before I forget, I know Mick wanted to be here tonight. He's had some health problems. But I wanted to say a couple of words on his behalf. He said that my dad was the most influential person he's ever had in his life, and he loved him like a brother. And I know that's true because I've seen it. I've known Mick my entire life, and for a while it was just my dad, Mick, and Terry Pack working, and then it grew into what you all see here. So just wanted to say thank you, and I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the table he made, and I miss him. Thank you.
So we call Angelique Angel. We've always called her Angel. And your father was very special to many of us. Old dad, Steve Murray, worked for him. I had the pleasure of working with Ed McLeod with Tornado and on tour, and he was a great guy. But I didn't tell you this because I wanted to surprise you, so don't lose it on me, okay? All right.
Grab another one of these.
Okay. So, on behalf of the great state of Texas legislation and State Representative 4th in Seniority Todd Hunter, who did recognize table soccer as a sport through legislation for us, we had a flag flown over the state capitol in the honor of your father. And I'm going to let Jim read this because I'm getting emotional.
The State of Texas House of Representatives. This certificate certifies that the Texas flag herewith presented to Ed McLeod by State Representative Todd Hunter was flown at the capital of the sovereign state of Texas. In his honor for his many years of dedication and support to table soccer, in witness thereof and pursuant to the authority vested in me, I have hereunto set my hand and seal of office at Austin, Texas, the 19th day of July, AD 2021. That's Todd Hunter. Congratulations, and this is a very special thing. Thank you, Sissy.
Thank you so
I met Joe Kuntz 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, in 2010. Of course, we had heard about this event and known how special it was, and Joe contacted us and asked if we'd like to be involved with what he was doing down here as things were beginning to grow. And that began what became a very close working relationship and friendship with truly one of the most influential foosball people in the history of United States table soccer. You know, so many of these individuals we've talked about tonight, their legacy is in what they did on the table and maybe the friends they made and what they left behind. But I don't know. I mean, Joe, obviously a really good player. Anybody who knew him, anybody who played against him know that Joe could play, right? But what Joe left behind, the legacy that he has left, and I mean, what a huge vacuum he left in terms of those of us who loved him and the relationships we all had with him. But man, did he have an impact on the sport of table soccer, and is so evident here tonight. Joe will never be forgotten. Every year, we're going to remember what Joe meant, and without Joe's dedication to his great friend Bart O'Hearn back in the year 2000 in creating this event, which has grown into something so special and worldwide is recognized as an event that is different in a fantastic way. And I know for me, every year I'd come down here and I'd be working with Joe intimately on everything, and I talked about it earlier in this ceremony. Joe and I would get together a couple hours before and talk about what needed to happen, how it could go, and it never went exactly to plan, of course, but it's hard. And I know that those of you who were his friends, and of course his family, Zan, the loss is even stronger for many of you. But from a personal point of view, I miss Joe so much. But the thing is, I still feel him, right? We all do. I mean, we're here doing this. We're honoring our friends and our family members and helping to process the loss of these people. So for me, I'm going to do everything I can to help continue, and I know Ben is dedicated, and I mean, we have left it in tremendous hands with what Ben Kempner is doing. And I think I was supposed to bring you up on stage to say a few things before this ceremony, and I apologize. And I know if you're thinking I didn't want to come up there anyway. But it's in good hands. You know, what Joe created and what grew into this amazing thing, and the legacy and the friends and the memories we all have of the players who have fallen and of Joe himself are so treasured. And I'm not sure without Joe that it would be quite like this, right? Obviously, our friends pass, we miss them, we move on, hopefully, eventually. But having this ceremony, having this event, helps us all to really move on more quickly and in a way that we absorb and comprehend a little better. So, before I do a Mark Torres and continue to ramble on, I'd like to invite up to the stage Anthony Ortega. I know he's here somewhere, I just got to find the hair. There it is.
All right, this will be a little bit tough. I'll try to make it short and sweet and get back to playing like Joe would have wanted. It's not the same without him. I miss him a lot. He was hardcore. He was like, I don't like him, get him out. Okay, fine, get him up. We need him, dude, but that was Joe. I liked he was a straight shooter. He told you how it was. He didn't mess around. Boom, boom, let's get her done, let's get her done. Boom, snap, snap. I loved it, and it was good. And you had to have patience with him. I had patience. It worked out. It was a good teamwork. I was perfect for him. I helped him calm down. Joe, calm down, Joe. I just miss Joe. It's not quite the same with him. I want to thank him for getting this started, because without this, we wouldn't have an opportunity to just, we're all going to be there one day. So just, it's tough to accept, and that's just the way it is. It's life. And thank you all for coming here, supporting this event. As Joe would say, let's go kick some ass.
Hopefully Joe kept you calmed down a little bit as well. Do we have a proclamation, Sissy?
So, 19 years ago, Joe said, hey, Sissy, you want to help me out and find some sponsors and help me out with a tour event? Or maybe it'll could become a tour event. We'll start a local event for Bart. I was like, sure, Joe. Look what it turned into. This is the first one without him for me since it started. And Ben, you've done a great job. Those are some big shoes to fill, and it's a pleasure to work with you. Zan, thanks for putting up with us, especially me and Joe for 19 years. You know, I mean, it was a full-time job. Ben's learning that now. It's not just, oh, let me have 3 months and I'll plan it. It's like, no, that's a full-time job. And I appreciate you putting up with all of us, and you're part of our family. All of us will be here for you for anything you ever need. But I need you to come up here, please, and accept something. So, I have two things. I'm going to let Jim read because I'm a crybaby. We know that. You've cried with me on the phone. First of all, there's your plaque for Joe. We miss him so much, but he's in the palm of God's hands now, and I know he's looking down on us and blessing us and going, God, help him out. I know he's got our back up there. Secondly, in 2019, I reached out to a colleague who's the mayor of Austin, who wrote a proclamation for me for Joe Kuntz, and his name is Mayor Steve Adler. He's the mayor of Austin, Texas. So, Jim, I'm gonna let you read this.
Proclamation. Be it known that, whereas Joe Kuntz was a leading exponent of table soccer, also known as foosball, in 2000, he created the Bart O'Hearn Celebration of Life Foosball Classic Tournament to honor his best friend and other sport participants who have passed away. Joe and his family have devoted 19 years of their lives to the tournament and its success. And whereas the Bart O'Hearn event is international in scope, as it is a qualifying event for the Foosball World Cup, it celebrates its 20th annual event this year at the Crown Plaza, Radisson. Whereas Joe Kuntz passed away on November 28th this past year, and so this year's event honors him as well. Now, therefore, I, Steve Adler, Mayor of the City of Austin, Texas, do hereby proclaim July 31st through August 2nd, 2020 as Bart O'Hearn Celebration of Life Days. In Austin, in witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Austin to be affixed this 31st day of July in the year 2020. Steve Adler, Mayor, City of Austin, Texas.
Okay, so, some things just can't be left undone. And you know how Joe always says this is like over the top. Well, I also reached out to the legislation and on behalf of the great state of Texas and State Representative Todd Hunter, there was a flag flown in Joe's honor over the Capitol. And this is yours to keep and take home. Maybe give to Ashley or keep it. I don't care, just it's yours.
You don't need to read this one. You saw this one earlier.
No, that's Joe's.
State of Texas, House of Representatives, this certifies that the Texas flag herewith presented to Joe Kuntz by State Representative Todd Hunter was flown at the capital of the sovereign state of Texas In his honor for his many years of dedication and support to table soccer in witness thereof and pursuant to the authority vested in me, I have hereunto set my hand and seal of office at Austin, Texas, this 19th day of July, 2021. Todd Hunter, State Representative. All right. Thank you, Zan. And of course, all of our hearts go out to you, and just know how much Joe meant to all of us here and to the foosball world in general. And it's always such a great pleasure to come down here and participate in this event. And thank you. Yep.
As I was driving in this morning from McKinney, which is a place that I just recently moved to this last year, it was Joe's and my dream to eventually be with our grandchildren, and my daughter and son-in-law and my twin grandbabies live there, and I actually live 4 blocks from them. I'm not sure Joe would have loved that I bought a historical home. If you all knew him, he was in construction and never ever wanted to live in an old home. So forgive me, Joe, for biting that bullet and doing that. It's a beautiful little home, and if you're ever in McKinney, Texas, give me a call, text me. I will invite you over. Also want to say a few things about the people that put this program on. I know from 19 years of the work that goes into putting the Bardo. I'm sure all tournaments are like this. I don't know. But I know that I lived with this man who put hours and hours and hours into it. And there were times where my patience ran short because it was a very stressful job. And I share this with you this evening because I want to recognize the people that support this, and these are the people that are up here on this stage tonight. Ben Kempner is the tournament director. I'm sure most of you all know that. And one of my first questions that I asked him this evening is, how many phone calls have you and text messages have you gotten today, this evening? And he said, I don't know, but they're all important. And I used to tell Joe, please turn your cell phone off the week of the tournament so that you can concentrate and get what needs to be done. I was in event planning for 31 years, and I know the work that goes into it, plus being married to him. I knew the kind of work and dedication that it took to put this on, and I thank you all, and I hope that this tournament will continue.
You got it. Yeah, we're not. I'll be here. Then I'll be here.
Joe would be very, very proud if he were standing here today. And so, thank you all.
Okay. This was, of course, due to COVID. This was a little longer ceremony than usual, more names than usual, a little more anguish than usual. But again, in closing, and I don't want to, I know we got to get back to playing here. We kept it under 2 hours though, Ben. Again, how special this is, and I want to leave you all with that. Hopefully all of us, there's sorrow, of course there is, but there's also movement forward for all of us and our friends. And, you know, being in the position that I'm in, I know a lot of people. I knew probably half the people on the list tonight, and as so many of us did. And that's what makes this all so marvelous, is that we can share this with our foosball family, work through it with our foosball family, remember these players, our experiences with them, the interactions with them. And again, that's what makes this also very special. So I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time on a Saturday night at the Bardo. Thanks again to Ben and Brittany and everyone else, and of course Zan, Sissy, for helping make this so very special. Thanks everybody. Let's get back to playing.
players, just so you know, there is cake over here. If you would like some cake, please come over by the concession stand.
Oceans in between us, but that's not very far. Can you take it all away? Can you take it all away? When you shoved it in my face, explain you get to me. Can you take it all away? Can you take it all away? When you shoved it in my face. Everyone is changing, there's no one left that's real. So make up your own ending, let me know just how you feel. 'Cause I am lost without you, I cannot live at all. My whole world surrounds you, stumble then I crawl. And you could be my someone, you could be my scene. Know that I will save you from all of the unclean. I wonder what you're doing, I wonder where you are. There's oceans in between us, but that's not very far. Can you take it all away? Can you take it all away? When you shoved it in my face, explain you get to me. Can you take it all away? Can you take it all away? When you shoved it in my face, explain you get to me. Nobody told me what you thought, nobody told me what to say. Everyone showed you where to turn, showed you where to run away. Nobody told you where to hide, nobody told you what to say. Everyone showed you where to turn, showed you where to run away. Can you take it all away? Can you take it all away? When you shoved it in my face, explain you get to me. Can you take it all away? Can you take it all away? When you shoved it in.